Hello. So today we are going through a very expensive deck list here. So I do apologize if you like to build these that I've built. This is more of a just like a fun little showcase. Emphasis on fun. So we are playing Eldrazi here. We have zhulodok, and behind zhulodok we do have the Emrakul because not legal yet, but if it ever becomes legal, we will run it, and we might even run it as the Pride Commander. So that's why he is in the command zone area instead of like, I don't know, put in the deck box or something. This is where we keep the tokens though. So that is the deck profile we are doing today. I have it in a specific order. Is it a good order? Probably not, but we will go through it anyway. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to go clump like that, clump like that. Right. So first things first, let's go through the titans we're running. So we are running Kozilek Great Distortion, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, and Kozilek the Broken Reality. Yes, we are running all the Kozileks. Next we are running Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, Ulamog the Infinite Gaia, and Ulamog the Defiler. Yes, we are running all of the Ulamogs. Then we are running Emrakul the Promised End and Emrakul the World Anew. No, we are not running all the Emrakuls because fuck that one in specific, I guess. But yes, we are running every Titan we legally can because it's an Eldrazi deck. Of course you are. Next, we go into the non-Titan Eldrazi's. I've got them in an order of, well, these cost a lot, so maybe we should run it that heralds the end to make them a bit cheaper. But then how are we going to find them? Well, that is our conduit of ruin. And then we can't just rely on the like Eldrazi Titans because zhulodok does cascade twice off of anything that costs 7 or more. So we've got a Void Winnower, which is a great Eldrazi that lets you not even. We have the Flayer of Loyalties, which lets me take your thing. We have an It That Betrays that we're going to get the Garfield print of when it comes out. We have a Cyrus 7 Deaths. We have an Artisan of Kozilek, a Breaker Creation, and a Spawnbed Protector. All of these will trigger zhulodok. Then we have a Glary Fleshraker and a Fortnot Seer for some of the other cheaper Eldrazi's because Fortnot Seer is not as good, but I find in a 4-player pod it's really funny because you go, right, you're ahead, so I'm going to make you discard your best card, and then if this dies, that player who's behind is going to draw the card instead of you. So is it the greatest card in the deck? Probably not, but you've got to leave some little whimsy cards. Next, we're going to go into the other Eldrazi cards that are not creatures, which is the Eldrazi Conscription, the All Is Dust, because it is a kindred sorcery of Eldrazi. And then we have the same with Not of This World, which is a counterspell. A free counterspell, depending on what they target as well. Very nice. Next, we're going to go into just generically good colorless stuff. That, well, not just full-on generically good, because like we will have other things later, but this is like the generically good zhulodok specific stuff. So like Geogolem to get zhulodok out and have the mana spare to like actually cast something big the same turn. We have a Rise of the Eldrazi, which is just one of the best cards in this deck. Take an extra turn, draw 4 cards, and destroy something, and trigger double cascade. Sounds good to me. Bygone Colossus is really good because if you warp it, zhulodok still sees it as a 9 mana cost. So it's just a 3 mana double cascade for 9 in this deck. Like, sure, you could probably cast it for its full cost later if like you need a board state, but just as a quick on, here's 3 mana, I'm now going to cascade twice at 8. Not bad. We then have a Cityscape Leveler and a Blightsteel Colossus. I mean, it's a colour stack, of course you're running these two. We then have a Chimil the Inner Sun to give everything uncounterable mostly, but the Discover 5 doesn't hurt. And one of my favourite newest additions in the same set as Bygone Colossus, we have a Dominion Bracelet because 3 mana just steals somebody's turn essentially with some of these power and toughnesses. It's great. Next, we're going to go to the Mana Rock section. So to help us cast these spells, these are just the Mana Rocks to do it. Just going to make this one pile. So, I need to make sure I've got all my mana rocks in my hand because I don't want to go part way through and then not have it. Right. So, we have a tutor for mana rocks in the form of Moon Silver Key. We have a Forsaken Monument that makes our mana rocks tap for more. And because we're running a Forsaken Monument, obviously we're running the Basalt Monolith. Now, for the actual mana rocks themselves, obviously Basalt Monolith is a mana rock, but we're just going to go past that. We have Soul Ring, obviously. We have a Mana Vault, first card that ups the price immensely. Well, the Titans kind of do as well, but yeah, no, Mana Vault is fucking expensive. Yeah, it's just so you can get more colorless mana as you go along. Then we have the Fort Vessel, the Mind Stone, the Failwar Stone. You know, just generically good mana rocks. Then we have the Fran Dynamo. Vexing Puzzle Box is actually really good because if you do manage to get to 100, you just grab 2 artifacts of your choosing. Bear in mind, Forsaken Monument is an artifact, so you can just go boom boom. I now have infinite mana if this ever reaches 100. Just saying. We then have a Decanter of Endless Water, which is basically Fort Vessel, but it does add of any color. And because we're running the World anew, we might steal a creature that has a activated ability that costs colored mana. So this does help. Same reason we run the Failwar Stone. And a couple other things that help us like actually get colored mana if we do end up stealing something that's worth, you know, activating the ability of. We then have a Sisage Ring, which is basically Soul Ring, but for 3 extra mana. Dreamstone Hedron, which taps for 3 mana. It draws us a card. Now, we're going to go to like a little mini cycle, aka 2 cards. We've got a Hedron Archive, which is 2 mana, pay 2 to get an ability, which is draw 2 cards. We are running also Stone Speaker Crystal, which does taps for 2 mana for 4 mana, like Hedron Archive, but its 2 ability is instead of sacrificing it to draw cards, this one sacrifices to exile a graveyard. And then you draw a card. And it's any number of players' graveyards, so you can target multiple people if there's multiple graveyard players. At least in my local game store, there are quite a few graveyard decks, so it's good to have this, just as a no, you do not have your graveyard, while also being a mana rock if we're not going against a graveyard deck. Next we have a Prismatic Lens, taps for a colorless, but also again you can filter mana through it to create colored mana if you need it. Palladium Mirror, just a creature that taps for 2. Sonic Screwdriver, personally a favorite of mine in this, because not only does it make a creature unblockable, not only does it tap for mana, but it can also untap an artifact for a certain amount of mana, which for like a mana rock, not the best thing in the world. Like maybe you can get the mana off of Hedron Archive and then later in the turn you go, actually I want to draw the card, so I'm going to untap it. But there's another artifact that we'll see in a minute that will be worth untapping. We then have Serum Powder, which is one of my favorite mana rocks because it's 3 mana to add for 1 colorless. But if you are having really bad mulligans, which this deck can, you can just exile this and every card in your hand to just get a free mulligan again if like you're still drawing really shit. So honestly, I do like it for that reason, and it's a very niche use, but the fact that it can also just double as a basic mana rock, which is what you need anyway, I thought it was a no-brainer to add it. Next, we've got another card that's really expensive that ups the price. But this is a card I had before I built this deck. Like I had it for another deck that I deconstructed eventually. We have a Metal Worker, so it can reveal any number of artifacts, get 2 colorless. Expensive because it's a reserve list card. Fuck you, Watsy. Yeah. And then the last mana rock is Khan Living Legacy. Because you can +1 it to make mana, and you can minus it to use mana to search. So it's not too bad. Now, Sonic Screwdriver does have targets, as I said. If I ever see any that come up other than Metal Worker, that is a good target for it. I will let you know. Next, we're going to go into the Ugin trio, which is obviously Ugin the Ineffable, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Ugin Eye of the Storm. Now, I was originally playing this as Ulalek, and I was teetering on, oh, do I change it to zhulodok and take all the coloured cards out and just go colourless? I got this card off of a mate that I have in Scotland. Thanks, buddy. And yeah, it this card made me go, actually, you know what? At this point, I might as well do it. So I did. Uh, then we have the generically good colorless cards. So we've got, let's see, Echoes of Eternity, generically good in a colorless deck because it doubles your colorless and it also um, doubles the triggers of colorless, which is really nice. Next, we have an Ugin's Mastery. If you cast a colorless creature, you just get a spirit, and then you can flip that if you attack with 6 power or greater. Spoiler alert, you're doing that a lot. Next, we have a Dark Steel Monolith. Just get a free colorless spell each turn from your hand, which again, zhulodok loves. We've got Ultima, Origins of Oblivion. Yeah, I'd love for my colorless mana to tap for double. Also, shutting down an opponent's lands if need be. Next, we have Mystic Forge. We're playing a colorless deck. This just basically lets you play from the top of your deck as well. Commander's Plate. Yes, it's the TMNT one. I'll be honest, even if it weren't the cheapest copy, I still would have got this one because I love how salty it makes my opponents to look at a pizza card and just go, oh my god. Same reason I run the TMNT food chain in Atali now. But yeah, just protection. It's lovely. Null Elemental Blast, counter spell, destruction spell. The One Ring, Sonic Screwdriver will untap this, which is really funny. And it just gives you protection and card draw. We've got Wondrous Crucible, which gives all of my permanents Ward 2. That's the main reason I run it, but the after effect of grabbing a permanent from my graveyard every end step, not the worst in the world. And then the final non-land colorless card, we have a Selective Obliteration, which is a lovely board wipe. Not full on board wipe because your opponents are most likely going to keep like one or two things, but like it doesn't affect you whatsoever, so there's no reason not to run it because 5 mana, you clear your opponent's boards and your board stays completely intact. So yeah. Next, we're going to get into the lands. So we're going to go into the Eldrazi specific lands first, which there's not too many, but enough. We've obviously got the Eye of Ugin. We've got the Ugin's Labyrinth. We've got the Eldrazi Temple, which I do want to kind of flex. It is a Galaxy Foil. I love how the Galaxy Foil looks, I'm not going to lie. We have the Sanctum of Ugin. We have the Spawning Bed and the Tomb of the Spirit Dragon. Some of these technically aren't Eldrazi specific, like these bottom 3, but high power colorless. What else is it going to be? So those, in my opinion, are kind of Eldrazi specific. Next, we have the Tron lands, which, as you know, is Urza's Power Plant, Urza's Mine, and Urza's Tower. Because the likelihood of us actually getting them all at once is low, but the fact that they still just tap for colorless means they're basically a basic wastes, and then if you manage to get all 3, you get 7 mana out of 3 lands. Even if it doesn't happen that often, at least you've got it. Another card that kind of boosts the price of this deck, I'm so sorry, is Ancient Tomb. I mean, it's 2 colorless for 1 land without any drawback other than, oh no, we took a bit of life. We're playing Eldrazi. Being able to be hit by the opponent isn't as big of a problem as it is for other decks. Then we have the temples, obviously Temple of the False God and Temple of the Forsaken Gods. They do rely on our land count, but again, like it's not the worst land count ever, so we're good. Guildless Commons also, I say, kind of fits in this cycle because it's tap for 2 colors. Yes, you have to bounce a land, but these have to wait for a certain amount of lands anyway, so potato potato. Next, we have the last 2 ramp lands, which sort of fall in the same sort of territory, which is Treasure Vault. You create, you sack it to create treasures, and the Gold Saucer, which doesn't sacrifice itself, but you flip a coin to see if you get a treasure. Which again, yes, we're playing a color stack, so colored mana doesn't matter as much unless we steal something that cares about colored mana. But treasures can still be ramp. Like, outside of the specific colorless pips, treasures can be used for any of our mana costs, don't forget. Next, we have the free land denial lands. So obviously we have the strip mine. Also, again, I know it's flexing, but Galaxy Foil looks so beautiful. It doesn't really pick up well on the camera, but in person, oh, it's so beautiful. We have the Wasteland, and for the final land denial, Petrified Hamlet. Very good new card actually, because if an opponent has a card that does something that we don't like, we just turn it into a land. It like, oh no, your land, your Thespian stage can turn into another land. No, it can't. Oh, your Rogue's Passage makes your thing unblockable. No, it don't. Oh, your guy's Cradle taps for Actually, I think it doesn't stop. Yeah, unless they're mana abilities. So it doesn't stop like Guy's Cradle, but it does stop enough effects that it's still kind of good. And again, it's on a colorless land. So worst case, it's just another basic. Nothing wrong with that. Then we have War Room, which is card draw. We have Bonder's Enclave, again, Galaxy Foil. If I could get a Galaxy Foil for all of them, I would. Inventor's Fair, which you'll see in a minute. I didn't get the Galaxy Foil because I don't want to spend that much. Which, yeah, there's the Inventor's Fair. Because this is like my draw part of the land cycle. So War Room draws, Bonder's Enclave draws. Inventor's Fair doesn't draw, but it tutors for an artifact, so good enough. Fountain Port gives us a draw, a ramp, and a fish. So that's our draw section, essentially. Next we go to what I call utilities. We've got Reliquary Tower, Rogue's Passage, Scavenger Ground to exile graveyards again. Thespian Sage I will declare as utility, because you could turn it into one of your utilities, you could turn it into any of your other lands that you care about. Because as you can see, there's quite a few. Like, you could turn it not into an Eye of Ugin, but you could turn it into like an Eldrazi Temple, for example, or another Ancient Tomb. Like, it basically ramps, yeah. We've got Inkmoth Nexus to give ourselves a creature on board, and a 10-turn clock for one player, I guess. We have a Mirror Pool to get a copy of any of the Eldrazi's that we actually want to keep. Like, as long as it's obviously non-legendary, so it can't be like a Titan, but like, I don't know, if I see a Blightsteel Colossus, I can make a second Blightsteel Colossus. If I see my Breaker, I can make a second Breaker. There's a lot of good things here. Now we're going to get into the slightly silly. Like, they're just there because they're better than a basic in general. We've got the Daily Bugle building giving us Menace, which is quite nice. And again, filters a color if we need it. We have a Mirex, which again filters a color on the turn it's played, or creates a 1/1. We have Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop, that also creates just a 1/1 if need be. Also add 1 mana of any color if we're casting an ally spell. We're not, but it's just good to have. Darksteel Citadel, which is basically a basic but with indestructible. And then for the basics, we just run 1, 2, 3, 4 wastes. I don't want to get rid of wastes entirely, because again, if someone plays like a Source of Plowshares, which they will, you can still get your land. If someone, well, Path to Exile, not Source of Plowshare. If someone plays like a Blood Moon kind of effect, you still have this for your colorless pips specifically. Because again, not every card has colorless pips, but some do. And yeah, it's just an all-round good card to have, just to have basics. Because there are things that your opponents do that will interact with basics. Like, if they play the card that makes every player search for a basic if they destroy a land. Like, Demolition Field is a thing that actually kind of runs rampant in my pods usually. Which usually isn't a problem, because a lot of decks are like, oh, well, we run a bunch of basics and not too many non-basics. This deck runs a ton of non-basics, so it's good to have a couple of basics to still have mana after a Demolition Field. And then eventually, if it becomes that big of a problem, you can just Petrified Hamlet the Demolition Field to stop them from just popping your lands. But that being said, that's everything. This deck is not the greatest Eldrazi deck ever built. Like, obviously, there are probably better cards I could be running in some areas. There's probably better ramp I could run in some areas. But it just feels fun to play. Like, you do tend to get zhulodok out fairly quickly because the amount of mana rocks and whatnot you're running. After zhulodok comes out, I'll be honest, if you untap with zhulodok and a decent card in hand, not even amazing card, just a decent card in hand, it can spiral very, very quickly. I've had it where I had zhulodok out. I paid 3 mana off on top of getting zhulodok out to get the Bygone Colossus, and I just won the game from that because I went into like mana rocks. Mana rocks then allowed me to play another big boy in my hand. The big boy in my hand allowed me to go into like I think it was one of my Emeralds. The Emrakul then stole a board. That Emrakul stealing the board then meant that player was out, and then I was able to Dominion Bracelet because that was already out, steal another person's turn, and just boom, sabotage win. Because then by then it's my turn again, and I just start swinging. So it can spiral really fucking quickly, but it's a very fun deck. I would argue you won't be allowed to play this deck that often if you do build it. Because I'll just play, oh, Eldrazi, let's target them. Even if they target you, if you get a good hand, you can still win, and then they just get really salty and go, no, you can't play that anymore. I went against somebody who, while I was doing my thing, like I was in a good position. I weren't winning. Like I was doing a bunch of stuff. I was, going through the cycling and whatnot. And the guy just turned around and went, oh, this is why Eldrazi should be banned. I'm like, don't I tell you this, mate, but this is just me cascading. Play against Quandrix. Like, you're going to hit Cascade forever. But yeah, no, it's a fun deck. It's a very fun deck. Is it the best deck in the world? No. Is it the best Eldrazi deck in the world? Probably not. No. Well, I shouldn't even put probably. I know for a fact it ain't because I'm not exactly a master deck builder. But I like to build fun, even if it's only fun for me. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, the deck list is in the description because if I update it, I don't want to be updating a video every time I update a deck because that would be like once a set for like half of my decks. So I just put the Moxield in the bottom. So if you're like, oh, this deck interests me, what has he added since? You can just go down there and go, oh shit, that's what he added since. That being said, have a good one, and I will see you guys when I make a deck profile. Probably on my Storm deck, actually, because that's a fun deck to pilot. That being said, have a good one.